my method of learning, I believe that the most enjoyable method of learning any language is just to immerse yourself in the language, not to use flashcards and rote memorization and look at grammar books, but to just immerse yourself in the language. By reading. You'll see the same words over and over again, and they'll start to stick in your mind more because you're seeing them all the time, and you're creating these patterns, and you'll be like, oh, I've seen that word before connected to another thing, so I know it. Rather than just using flashcards where your brain doesn't make any connections when you're just learning words through flashcards, it's easier, I find, to just immerse yourself in a language if you want to learn. So that's how I learn Hebrew, and Hebrew is such a rich language. It's so ancient. There's so many different ways that you can study Hebrew, because there's modern Hebrew, there's ancient biblical Hebrew like this. It's been around since at least during the time when Yeshua, or Jesus, as many people would call the Messiah, the Christ. Yeshua was when Yeshua was alive, he would go to temple and he would read scripture that looked like this. But before he was alive, it would look different. It wouldn't look like this. They have a neo-Hebrew style of writing that I don't have any examples of right now, but this is older than even the neo-Hebrew writing. Neo would be like mid-Hebrew alphabet, but this is Paleo-Hebrew, and it's believed that by many scholars who have their research has been peer-reviewed and have gone through the scientific community, and it's not accepted by the entire scientific consensus that this originated by the Israelites. Many people in the scientific community believe that this is Phoenician and that it was created before the Israelites were around. But there are scholars who would say that there is evidence that this was created during the time when Joseph was around, or his children, when they were still free people in the land of Egypt. This alphabet was created, and this is an example of the entire alphabet like this. This is what today's Aleph looks like. And this is the Aleph that would have looked like, what it would have looked like in ancient Egypt. And each letter has a corresponding number, and that's how you get around with the Bible, with those understanding that, like, this is chapter Zayin, which Zayin represents the number 7, as we see here. Zayin is 7, and originally the Zayin was a plowing tool. It was used for mixing up the dirt so that you could seed your crops. But so anyway, sorry, I got off track there. So Zayin, this is chapter 7 because Zayin is the 7th letter, and for me, yeah, it's just more enjoyable for me to learn a language by just immersing myself in the language rather than using flashcards. It might seem like it takes longer because it's a more holistic way, but you're learning so much more at the same time. You're learning about the history of the language. You're learning about different aspects of the language, the linguistics, the evolution, and you're just learning the grammar in a more holistic way by immersing yourself in it by just reading. teaching yourself how to read modern Hebrew. I mean, if you're a person like me that gets bored easily, you want to jump around to different things. But if you want to learn Hebrew, it's great because there's so many different places you can jump around and learn and still be learning Hebrew. It's just a different aspect of Hebrew. So you can constantly change tact and still be learning the same material, just in a different way. And one way that I like to learn is the Jewish people have a very unifying way of studying their scriptures. They go through the Torah, and they have throughout all of Judaism, no matter where they are in the world, they all have a Torah portion that they read on their Shabbat, on the Sabbath. They get together and they read the Torah portion. Like next Sabbath, they'll be reading chapter 7, verse 12 through chapter 11, verse 25, which starts here. And it's so inundated into their ways that they even have their sections marked in the Bible itself. Ekev is the section, and it starts on chapter 7, verse 12, which Yod represents 10, and Bet represents the number 2, so that's 12, and it goes on from 7:12 to 11:25, so they would read all of this all the way to here, because this is chapter 11, Yod Aleph, because Yod represents the number 10, and Aleph represents the number 1, so that's 11, and it would be verse 25, so it starts on Kaf, Kaf Vav is 26, but so every once in a while, I've noticed that the verses can be slightly out of order from the Jewish Bible and the Bible that English speaking non-Jews would use, I suppose. So it would be instead of 25, because Hey is 25, Vav, Kaf, Vav is, pretty sure Vav is 26. Let's make sure. See, this is how Vav is number 6. So it stops at verse 20. It starts at verse 26, apparently. Unless I'm reading this wrong. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. But that happens. I make mistakes. I'm still learning. I still have so much to learn. In fact, I am just a beginner at this stuff. But yeah, the way I'm studying this is that I just immerse myself in what they're doing, because it's enjoyable to just be a part of that community and to feel like I'm a part of something bigger than I am. So I would start here for today on Sunday, and then because you could break this up 7:12 to 11:25 to daily portions. So I will read from 7:12 to 8:10. But because I'm still learning Hebrew, I will only read about 2 verses in the Hebrew, and then I will read the majority of the chunk in English, and I would read it like this, and I would also try to learn the definitions of each and every word. And I know a lot of the definitions, like Vahaya means and there was, or it's a being word. It's like and it was, or and it will be. Pretty sure Haya is will be. No, is. And it is, Ekev, Ekev, I forget what Ekev means, but that's why I'm still learning. So Ekev, and then you would just go through, I would just go through and read 2 verses in this style and try to look up the definition of each and every word. Some of the words I already know because I've seen them over and over and over again, and when you read them so many times, they just start to stick in your mind. Now also we'll read it like this. This is the Paleo Hebrew. This is the same words, but using the more ancient alphabet, so you get a better understanding of what the words themselves mean from an ancient perspective. Like this is the letter Vav, which means it's a tent peg, and this is the letter Hey, which is a person saying, "Hey, what's up?" It means revelation, and it can also mean man. And this is an arm. It represents the letter Yod or Yod, and the hand in Hebrew is a Yod. And so that's Vahaya. So I would read it like this so that it's another way of imprinting it onto my brain so that I can remember more by learning in multiple different ways. It leaves an imprint on my brain and helps me to remember. And it's just a more interesting way of learning a language. So that's what I'll do. I'll read a couple of scriptures in the ancient Hebrew, learn the definitions, and then read the main text in English. And then at the end, I'll read the last 2 verses of the portion. Like today, I'll just read from 7:12 to chapter 8:10. And so I'll read 8, 9, and 10 in Hebrew like I would the first 2 verses. So that allows me to get a daily education in Hebrew in that way. And I have other ways of studying as well. I'm learning ancient Hebrew as well as modern Hebrew. So I'm learning in a very holistic way, as far as I'm just holistic, meaning that I'm just covering an enormous amount of ground, and I'm learning from all different sides, all different directions, because that it's more meaningful to me that way and more enjoyable. It might take longer, but I'm still learning, and it's more enjoyable that way to learn if it's meaningful to you rather than just boring rote memorization from flashcards. So that's how I study. All right.